Just like we made our storage area more secure by setting the rules for what images could be added to certain paths, we're now going to add rules to our database to determine what data can be read or written to for each of our collections. So we'll create a new rules JSON object. And first, for our channels collection, we're going to allow reads with this .read rule by making sure the user is authorized. So if auth is not equal to null. For each channel, we have this dynamic channel ID value. We're going to allow writes. We're going to allow users to create new channels and create this channel ID value if auth is not equal to null. And we're going to validate each new channel that's added with new data.hasChildren. We'll check to make sure each new channel added has the properties ID, name, created by, and details. And we can additionally validate each of these properties within hasChildren. So we'll validate the ID, once again using the validate rule. We'll check to see if the value of this new data, the value of the ID, is equal to the channel ID. We'll make sure that the name on the channel has a length that's greater than 0. And we'll copy this and provide the same rule, but for our details. So the user that's adding the name and details for our new channel has to provide some characters to them. Then for our messages collection, it has a dynamic channel ID value. We'll allow that to be read if auth is not equal to null. We'll use validate again, where we want to take the child of the root. In other words, check to see if the channels collection plus this new channel ID exists within our database using the exists method. On each channel ID, we'll have a unique ID for each message that's added. We'll allow a new message to be created and therefore write permission if auth is not equal to null, and so this is for public channels. And we'll validate what's attached to this message ID. In other words, all of the message information for a new message that's added by checking to see if new data has the children content, user, and timestamp. It has those properties and doesn't have the property image. So this would be for a text message. But we also want to handle the case that our message has image data. So we'll copy all this conditional, use an OR operator, and paste it in afterwards, and replace the content property with image and image with content. So that would handle the case that we have an image message instead of a text message. We'll validate the content property if we have a text message by making sure that new data.value has a length greater than 0. We'll do the same for image, that it has a length greater than 0. And for our user, we can validate them by making sure that they have the children ID, name, and avatar. So they at least have to have these 3 properties. They don't have to have the starred or color properties. Then we'll move on to our private messages collection, where it'll first have a unique ID that we'll call UID1 and another one within it of UID2 for both of the user IDs. We'll read only if auth is not equal to null, and just like the rule that we provided within our storage rules, we'll make sure that the UID1 variable is equal to auth.uid or UID2 is equal to auth.uid. Then that will contain a message ID for each message that's added to our private messages collection, and we can just copy and paste all of the relevant validation that we added previously for message ID for our messages collection. Then we'll move on to present, and here we'll read will allow reads if our user's authenticated, and writes if our user's authenticated. Of course, we're just updating whether they're present within the app or not, whether they're online, and we'll provide the same rules for typing. So every user will enable reads and writes. Then moving on to users, we'll allow reads if the user's authenticated, and it'll have a unique UID value. We'll allow writes if auth isn't equal to null, and the auth UID is equal to this UID value that's being put on the user's collection. And we'll validate new data.hasChildren. We'll make sure that each new user begins with the properties name and avatar. And once again, we'll validate these children for each user that's added. So we want to validate name, so we can grab the name rule that we had above for the name of each channel that's added and paste it down here within users. And we'll provide the same rule for avatar. You could change the length to your own custom value, say 5 or 6 if you'd like. But for now, we'll just hit publish, make sure we don't have any errors with any of our rules. And so now we've locked down our database.